Harry Smith. And staying with Russia, an earlier security crackdown by President Putin led to the 4-month detention of a multinational group of Greenpeace activists. That group, known as the Arctic 30, was arrested by Russian authorities on board their ship in September after landing on a Russian oil platform in a protest against drilling in the Arctic. Initially, they faced the prospect of 15 years jail for piracy. That was later reduced to 7 years for hooliganism. They spent in total around 60 days in Russian prisons. One of those seas, the British journalist Kieron Bryan, wrote letters home describing conditions inside and his fears of not seeing his family or girlfriend for many years to come. But he also joked that local pigeons massing near his cell were being killed by guards and turned into soup for inmates. He and the other activists were finally released on bail in November, but the 5 Britons among the group were not allowed to leave Russia until the end of last week. They were greeted at London's St Pancras station on Friday by friends and family, home at last, though not in time for Christmas. The first thing Kieron Bryan wanted on his release was to propose to his long-term girlfriend, Nancy. They are now set to marry in the summer, and he joins me now right here. Not with Nancy, but congratulations nonetheless. I said tonight in the headlines that in many quarters the feeling is you're only here and now and talking to us because, frankly, President Putin wanted to be nice about the Games and avoid a Sochi boycott. Is that your feeling?
I mean, it certainly feels that way. It felt like we were part of a much larger game that was being played, and the fact that we got released in the same week as Pussy Riot and Gordakovsky, I don't think it's a coincidence at all. It
was quite a batch. Is there anything beyond a feeling? I mean, you obviously talked about this with the other 30, I'm sure, but anything official? Was anything ever said by anybody, British, Russian?
It's difficult to say. It's all rumours. I mean, I know a lot of the Greenpeace comms guys certainly felt that way, and that they were working towards Sochi as being the kind of end game. I feel that Sochi is the reason that I'm home now, but I do feel that the bail that we were given was totally out of the blue, and I feel that, you know, I've got a lot of thank yous to make, and one of those is to the British media and the world media in general, because without that attention, I'm not sure Putin would have felt that he had to kill the story enough before Christmas. But certainly, you know, we were all hoping that Sochi would have a big influence when we were inside. The difficult thing is you're so confined and isolated that you don't know what's going on in the outside world, and it's something I hope to find out more about now that I'm free.
Right, well, speaking of Sochi, gay activists may well say we should boycott. Certainly Chechens and people from the Caucasus may very well say we should boycott, clearly. In view of what Russia is doing in the Arctic, do you say that people should boycott the Games?
It's less about the Arctic campaign for me. I think the strong line that I picked up from, you know, the coverage was that it was about freedom of speech and freedom to protest and freedom to report. I'm not going to tell anyone to boycott Sochi. That isn't a decision that I have any influence on. But anyone who's going should be aware of the situation in Russia. And I'm one of many people who are held, or were held, in difficult conditions. And I think there's a relationship that the world has with Russia that needs to be discussed far more openly, and hopefully Sochi will give the limelight that it deserves, and we should be talking.
I mean, you raise the issue, people who go to Russia should know what Russia's about. At what point and you can see where this is going, at what point during the training and preparation was it said to you by the Greenpeace or whoever was training you for this, look, you know, this is Russia, you're not going to Sweden, you're not going to Denmark, you are going to get nicked and they're not going to be nice to you? I mean, you kind of knew what you were going into, right? Particularly as a journalist.
I mean, I worked on the Pussy Riot story when I was working for The Times. I am aware of the way that the Russian Federation can react to certain things. At the same time, Greenpeace went to the Pirozlomnia platform last year in December and spent 5 days protesting far more flamboyantly than we did. And I was there as a journalist. My job was to gather the news and report it, to get footage of what I think is an important part of an environmental debate, and to tell the world about it. To be treated in the same group, you know, we were all treated as the same. Our case was as 30 people. It was clear that they wanted to make a statement with this. It wasn't about fairness or a legal process. And whilst we didn't see it all coming, and we were perhaps naive not to see it coming, the reaction was unprecedented. It was totally over the top and illegal.
How tough was it? I mean, prisons are not supposed to be nice places, that we take for granted. Was it really all that hard?
Yeah, it was. I'd love to say it was easy and I breezed through it, but spending 23 hours in isolation every day, not being able to speak a language, having no common understanding with the people I was sharing cells with, was incredibly difficult. And more than that, knowing that my family were at home, not knowing what I was going through and how I was being treated was the hardest thing, definitely.
OK, well, it's all behind you now. Thanks very much for being with us. Appreciate it.